Fornari, that's my last name. I go by Fornari. You can also call me Kevin, or if you're in the UK, you can be rich and call me Kev. That's perfectly fine. I first, or I guess I got into JUNKPUNK because I've played Gunsmith for, I don't know, dude, like 2 years or something. Got hired on to SCT, and then they put me on JUNKPUNK as well. So typically, like, I've played like 2D automation games, not like third person automation games. So I played Factorio, Gunsmith, JUNKPUNK, and then my only other third person automation game was Space Engineers. Um, and no, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. That's all you need to do. And I'll just call on people. I'll just go from Umbrella down to Phoenix, and then next question, I'll just go from Phoenix upward if that's fair with everyone. So Umbrella, introduce yourself. Who are you? Tell us about yourself and your
Uh,
automation games.
Hi all. So yeah, as you know, my gamer tag is Umbrella Corp Gamer. You can call me Dean. That's my normal name. I started JUNKPUNK about probably around the same time as you, Fenari, maybe 2 years ago, on and off. I kind of just fiddled around with it, but again, with early development, I didn't um, kind of fool around too much. I left it for a bit, and with that, I decided to pursue other factory-based games, including Factorio, and then I fell in love with SCT's other title, Gunsmith, which I've kind of primed on playing. From there, I kind of got into SCT's work a bit more. So since then, I've managed to pretty much donate a lot of time to JUNKPUNK as much as Gunsmith. So here I am.
Great, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. You can just call me Chris because that's my name. Um, let's see, I got Junk Punk in June of 2022, it looks like.
Hell yeah.
Um, and played for a good chunk of time. Completed the Monolith 2 terraforming, and then started exploring by building giant stairways to crazy places. And then set it aside until vehicles came out. Played a bit more with vehicles, and then again set it aside for about a year. And then when Russell was announced, I said, "Oh, this seems like an interesting opportunity. Let me start up a new map and make more careful notes about thoughts."
Hmm. Um.
Um,
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. Finish your intro. I was going to ask you something after.
Sure. I've played a lot of automation games. The classic Factorio, uh, Haven Dock, Astro Colony. Uh, Gosh, Satisfactory is the one gap that I have not actually played.
Mm.
Same.
So yeah,
Awesome. Just as to tangent for a second, can you share your thoughts on vehicles and why vehicles specifically drew you back to JUNKPUNK? Was it just like, oh, another update that just happened to be vehicles, or is there
yeah.
something specific? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was mostly this seems like an interesting a thing because prior to the introduction of vehicles, getting from one location to another was rather tedious.
Hmm.
So I set up a giant uplink station network so that I could bop around from one monolith to another, but running in between was just very time consuming. And
Hmm.
then the vehicles came out and they were very much a work in progress
Yeah,
that was
sure.
being actively tuned. And so to see that immediacy of feedback was really nice.
Hmm. Does before I continue with intros, does anyone have any opinions on vehicles, like them, dislike them, or anything?
I
Yes.
disliked them. They were just too hard to drive.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I second that one. As much as I love the overall look of them, I mean, you have the simple buggy type vehicle, like the Dune buggy type vehicle, all the way up to the is it 6 or 8 wheel rig?
Yeah,
I think it's
I think
six
it's
wheels.
6, but yeah.
6 wheels. And like for me, it kind of brings me back to that movie, The Martian, with Matt Damon. You know, I love that overall shape. To be honest with you, I love the rig more than I do the buggy. I know some people like the idea of like, I mean, you can clearly see in the game here, it's the perfect kind of map to be, blasting around the buggy and having fun. But at the same time, then for the other gamer who, is a workaholic, they like to be industrialized and use big rigs to do big things. And um, again, I agree that but the driving is kind of clunky and could probably do with a bit of a rework.
Sure. And Phoenix, do you have any thoughts first?
I mostly drive the six-wheeled industrial vehicle to transport items in the early game when I'm still working on belt work, so it's a good in between, but as people have said previously, it's very popular that the vehicles are hard to drive.
Gotcha. And
Not as bad as they were when they first released, because I was
sure.
around for
Those
that,
slidey,
but
slidey
they are
ice.
still not easy.
To everyone other than Chris, if they were better to drive, like, is this worth something worth updating, or like we already have the jetpack, so who gives a shit? Just like wait till Monolith 2 so you can get the jetpack,
I
or like
think
you actually want to drive it.
I would love to drive them. Personally, I would love to drive them, and I think that they could probably be utilized maybe for tier 1, the scrap tier.
Sure.
I think that maybe, and I mean, yeah, there's a possible use case there or two for Monolith 2, but in terms of wanting them or using them, like maybe not have them on the map, maybe have them as an available build for tier 1 to get you around. I think if they're on the map already, it's not that it's cheaty, but it's kind of making it an easy job just to get around. Whereas again, you're opposing the grind of the game or the first tier. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Dixie?
I just ran everywhere.
Okay.
I gave
What-
up. I kept going off road. I cleared the road. I went off road. I kept going off road and getting stuck. And then it would reset, and I'd be having all this stuff all over the ground, and I just gave up. I just ran everywhere.
Okay. Fair enough. And I guess Phoenix, you already use them, so I'm guessing like you just want them to be
Uh,
better.
I would say that it's worth the update, but it shouldn't be a high priority
Mm-hmm.
because, as you just said, we have jetpacks, we have things like that. There are vehicles on the ground already, as Umbrella mentioned.
Gotcha. Great. Sorry for interrupting the intros. Dixie, back to intros.
One
Howdy, y'all. I'm Dixie. You don't have to call me Dixie Angel. I've been a long time gamer for like ever since I could hold this stupid Pong controller in my hands.
Hell yeah.
I play a big variety of the crafter, builder, survivor, factory games. I have played an awful lot of Factorio and Satisfactory, Dyson Spear Program, a bunch of little games that came out this past couple years or so. I got interested in JUNKPUNK because I was looking for something a little bit different as far as the disassembling things and
Mhm.
rebuilding new things. But I've played a huge variety of different games. I am new to the game, as we discovered earlier. I just started it in February of this year.
Cool. Great. And then Phoenix.
Hi, I'm Phoenix. You can call me Nix, Dennis, Challenge. I go by a lot of names. Uh, I've been playing JUNKPUNK itself since, at the very least, January of 2022, so shortly after its release. Uh, as far as other games, I've played a large variety. My Steam library is huge, but JUNKPUNK itself, I have put just over 250 hours in at this
Wow.
point,
Damn.
so I've played a bit.
A bit, he
Awesome.
said.
All right. Cool, guys. Thanks for the intros. So I'm going to start all these questions like pretty open ended, and then like for example, I picked up on vehicles in the intro, so we kind of diverted to that. So that's kind of how I envision this format going. So I'm just going to have an open ended. Um, how do we feel about the new player experience, kind of like the tutorials, the question marks on the floor, the clarity of the clarity of what to do starting out, pretty much anything between like right when you load up the game to completing Monolith 1, I would say falls into new player experience / tutorial. And I'm gonna throw it over to Nyx first, and then and then we'll just go in reverse order unless someone has something else. But yeah, Nyx or Phoenix. Sorry, what do you prefer? You just said Nyx is.
Nyx works.
Okay, Nyx. All right, we're going to Nyx. Talk to me about the new player experience. Any thoughts? Anything that should that you think should be prioritized? Anything like that, man? Go for it.
So I haven't gone through the full new player experience today. I recently
Sure.
went through just the tutorial. Uh, that being said, the tutorial for JUNKPUNK is not very intuitive, would be the word I'd use.
Mm-hmm. And could I ask you to explain that a little bit more, like how it's not intuitive,
So
or what you see
with
as it not being intuitive? Yeah, go for it.
with the tutorial, it says to pick up a basic laser and equip a basic laser. I actually think it just says equip a basic laser, but it doesn't show you where the basic lasers are. You can find it pretty easily, but it doesn't really show you. It tells you to scrap 50, have 50 of the scrap,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't tell you like what kind of scrap is good, what you use it for. It just
Mm-hmm.
tells you immediately after that, go to Monolith 1.
Okay.
So it doesn't feel like it's not really showing you the correct what to do as far as what I consider the basics of JUNKPUNK. It's telling you to do things without showing you how to do it.
Gotcha. Do you what I would assume is you want it to be a little more step by step, or would you want it to be like on a scale of like 1 to 5, 5 being like it literally tells you build this machine, this is what this machine does, to 1 being like slightly more than what it does? What would you say like the level of handholdiness is you would want to see in the
Uh,
tutorial and like new player?
as far as brand new player, because
Mm-hmm.
this game does the very fantastic thing of you can skip the tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, always go a hard 5, mostly because there are people out there like Dixie who will come into the game and be like, okay, I need a basic laser. Where's a basic laser? And they may just run out of the ship and spend the next hour
That
no
was
idea
me.
what to do.
In fairness, it did take me a second or two to. I actually did run out of the ship, and I was here going, "Where the hell's the laser?" And then when I went back in to read, I actually went in to read the PDA again, and it
Mm-hmm.
said
Yeah.
it said over on the table. I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then I noticed this little picture on the monitor, and
Gotcha.
it it took me to be. I was even standing here, and it took me a second to kind of understand what I had to do just to get a laser. I don't know why I did pause for a minute, like kind of saying, "Hang on," and then I was like, "Oh, just press E and you'll get a laser." But even then, it wasn't that for me. It wasn't that intuitive. It didn't say. I mean, it says object granted, but I probably would have done better had it said laser in inventory.
Sure.
Do you
Gotcha.
And I do
Wording.
want to add with that, yes, there is the K menu. Yes, the K menu is awesome and great and everything else. I literally, the other day when playing with Umbrella, had to remind him of the K menu.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
at no point are you ever told about the K menu. It's just a button on the side that you might happen to come across.
And
Let me. I will cut you off, Umbrella, and then
yeah,
I'll come back to you. Dixie. 2 questions then. Number 1, how handholdy on a scale of 1 to 5 would you want the tutorial to be? And number 2, just general clarity, like bringing up the K menu, for example, or just like general clarity. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it was confusing to me because I couldn't find the lasers. I kept thinking to myself, is this something I find? Is it something I build? What I would like to see it to be in your inventory and then something that say equip laser,
Mm-hmm.
where it's already in your inventory. That would be nice.
Gotcha. And on a scale of 1 to 5, like how handholdy would you want to increase
Um,
it?
I would say a little bit more help. Probably
Okay.
about a 6 or a 7.
So over a 5, like a ton of
Yeah.
help. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more help for a beginning player. And maybe a functional charging station there until you just
For
kind of get the hang of things.
what? I'm sorry. A what?
In the ship
Mm-hmm.
or near the ship, because I ended up having to put one down in the beginning.
I think there is a functioning one in there.
Oh yeah, a
It-
charging station is what you
It's
said.
it's in there,
Yeah.
but it's not powered
Yeah,
You
it's
have
not
to figure out
powered.
how to power it. Yeah.
to that station.
Um,
Yeah.
Because I ran around for quite a while trying to figure out where in the heck I get a laser at.
um, uh, so power station clarity. Okay, cool. Chris, thoughts on 1 through 5 hand holdiness and general clarity thoughts.
Sure. So in general, I think the game would benefit a lot if it had uh, the ability to throw up some green highlights to draw
Mm-hmm.
the player's attention to something. Um, for this example, the laser, the tutorial step could still say pick up the laser with a follow-on step of equip the laser. But if you took that same neon green highlight of the question marks and you
Mm.
drew a box around where the lasers are,
Mm-hmm.
you could use that to draw the player's attention over to, hey, here's the thing. Um, there are also, if you wanted to be a bit more subtle, there is that giant light that's shining down on it, but it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of drowned out by all of the other like flashing and
Sure.
sparks and everything. So I can see what the devs have done by putting the light trying to like illuminate that, but unfortunately it's meshed out by all the other special effects that are going on. So I think just that giant neon green light that's used nowhere else in the game other than these type of draw the player's attention, um, you could use that to draw around the box, and then in subsequent steps where you really wanted to direct the player's attention to something, just draw that out. And I mean, lore wise, you can play this off as you're inhabiting a robot. Of course, like you can throw up visual representations in the world. As far as hand holdiness, I'd actually like to see something that tapers off. So
Okay.
this very very first start, I think it should be extremely handholdy. Like make the player open their inventory. Make that a step so that the player understands like, oh, I can press Q and that opens inventory. Make them see and understand like these basics of, oh, I need to equip the laser. Okay. But then once you've got once you the games master have an understanding that the player knows the basic mechanics and can stumble around the world somewhat, then you can start to ease off on how handholdy you need to be. Like by the time you're asking them to construct stairs at the monolith, you probably don't need to be directing the player to open the build menu and then construct stairs. You can probably just abbreviate that as find a way in, construct a way into the monolith, and then let the players figure out whether they want to do that as a combination of walls and floors that they hop on, or stairs that they climb on, or whatever. So I think that the portion of the tutorial that's in the crashed ship should be very very handholdy, and then by the time the player has walked over to Monolith 1, you can dial things back quite a bit.
Great. Umbrella, same question. And then what do I want to say afterward? You can also say what the thing I cut you off from saying.
Yeah. Could you do me a favor and just repeat that question out loud to me, just so I can?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So a question is, number one, how handholdy do you think the tutorial should be? If you want to go on a scale of 1 through 5, or like Chris went from like probably a lot handholdy inside the ship and kind of tapers off to where there's basically nothing when you reach Monolith 1, and then I forgot what question 2 was. Oh yeah, like general clarity stuff, if you want to touch on like anything that needs to be more clear, or just like general clarity philosophy, if you want to cover that. And then whatever else you wanted to say that I cut you off from before.
Yep. So for hand holding this, I do agree with Nick that if you're a brand new if you're a brand new player, especially to factory builders and resource collection like that, it should be a solid 5 out of 5. Given JUNKPUNK the way it currently is. If you are familiar or partially familiar with factory builders, maybe have some kind of option like the equivalent of a loudness slider where you can dial down the hand holdiness and just obviously there'd be let's say compulsory tutorial things that you need to read or need to hear, just to make sure that okay, right, well, you're not new to these kind of games, you're new to this particular game. So in that case, then hand holdiness would be down to a 3, if you know what I mean.
Sure. I got you.
And I take
I'm
take
sorry,
that.
I'm going to cut you off one more time.
Yeah.
Does anyone not want a really clear, or think it would be a bad idea to have a really clear, this is what the Q button does, this is what the K button does, this is what the E button does? Does anyone think that would be a bad idea? All right.
Sorry. Just to answer that. Sorry. Go on.
I wouldn't
I
run
do think
through.
that the thing in like that's something I want to double back on actually.
Okay. Well, we'll go to Nick's after Umbrella. Chris, did you have something?
I wouldn't want every hotkey to get highlighted, but I think again the idea that the very, very first thing that a player should experience upon launching the game is, here is every step that you need to know. So inventory is a very big factor in this game. So yes, you should, one of the tutorial steps should be opening the inventory and making sure that the player understands how to manipulate that.
Okay, great. Umbrella, I cut you off. Keep
going. So I'll carry on from where I said, like, yeah, you can dial that down to a 3. I mean, I know that some gamers, specifically new gamers to these type of games, they really appreciate and love what you'd call voiceover tutorials, like where it's not just a text telling you what to do. Because I have experienced it personally. I've experienced it in the past where I did get slightly annoyed having to read long tutorial texts, like just to get going, and it kind of puts me off even playing the game at that juncture, that starting juncture, because I end up saying to myself, oh god, this is just going to be a novel that I have to read. I don't want to do that. Whereas a lot of games, there are some games, for example, that would they have that that nice monotonal voice, like that, whether it be a man or a woman, who just say, so you can push the Q button to open your inventory. From here, you'll be able to see what resources you have. And to me, that's actually a nice feeling to have, especially in a tutorial or a bit of hand holding to get you going in a game. I do love voiceovers, because I think voiceovers actually let you continue on while listening to them and getting the training. Whereas if you're stuck with only a text, you have to stop what you're doing, you have to read the text, you have to perform that action all in the one place. Whereas with the voice, you either get the choice to stop and do it, or you're aware of what they're telling you to do as you're playing, and you can kind of keep the flow of gameplay, even as a new starter to the game.
Great.
Yeah, that's
Dixie.
a good idea. That's a good idea to have a simple voiceover.
Awesome. And Nix, I cut you off.
So, going back to what Chris was saying, there is merit to the game having all of these things tell you, yes, you have to do this, yes, you have to do this, but then also tapering off so that you're not required to do this. That being said, there is also a side of these kinds of factory building games where, let's just say you're in Monolith 1 and you're told, hey, you have to do farming stuff now. Dixie, you're the youngest one here. Did you have any idea what it was talking about with the farming and the plants and anything like that
Um,
immediately off the bat?
as a side note, uh, look, the farming is going to be heavily reworked, so I'm going to
Well,
say let's talk very little about it, but I'll allow this question.
Yeah, I'm just using it as an example.
Okay.
Well, it took me forever to figure out where the heck how to get water to get to the plants.
Yeah, so there is merit to having a in-game or on wiki or something that a player can access to be all like, okay, what is the step-by-step guide to how do I make sand? What are
Sure.
my options? What are the things like that? Yes,
Gotcha.
it's a lot of times in text form, but that's something that you don't have to do. It's just an option that people can access.
Great. Since this took a little bit longer, I'm going to switch topics. Does anyone want to give like an extra minute of details on anything about new player experience and tutorials?
I do have one line towards that. I'm not sure if
Great.
it's part of the next thing or not, but I'll just say
Oh, go
here,
for it.
just seeing as it's part of the, I suppose part of the tutorial. I do think that alongside hand holding, and I had this mainly here just at the start of the ship, because although I agree, as I said, I had told you, or I'd said to you as well, Fornari, and Nix has said it there a minute ago as well. You're doing this, this and that to one little simple thing, and then you're told go to monolith 1.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Like the cutoff is really sharp,
yeah.
or
Whereas
like the jump. Yeah.
I had it like when you're told, I mean, you are told to build a crafting station. I had it in my head at that point, right, this is going to bring me through the fundamentals of just starting up an industry. It'll help me build one line or one little production of something simple, to get me going.
hmm
And from there, I'm able to understand how to build other things to create the different products on my own, or different
hmm
items. But
Gotcha.
all we got really was like a crafting station, and then right, monolith 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I get you.
maybe, I don't know, maybe if that was to be brought in, and like, I think it would be great if it was just here, like, or some kind of platform here to use, that it teaches you how to build just your first one. Maybe just some kind of tips for the player, where it does tell you, like, remember, these items do require power, so you will need to build the item to power it and connect it up.
Yeah.
Because I did actually have um the issue where I completely was not able to grasp that something needed power, and I had to connect it up with a tube. I kept thinking, if I just place it near a power fan, it will work. I had these, and this was a long time ago, granted, but these were
Sure. Yeah. I got you.
these were the little confusing things that I had just starting out, and at which point then, not that it turned me off the game, but it got me worried about playing the game,
Gotcha.
in a sense,
Um.
Where in the heck to plug this thing in at?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like, to the untrained eye of this game, it's very easy to miss those little power ports that some of the structures have.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
if I can chat a little bit about the physical pacing of the tutorial.
hmm
You start out in this crashed ship, and then as part of the tutorial, it encourages you to actually build a building. And yet, there is nothing at this crashed ship that you will ever interact with ever again.
hmm
And so the way I would restructure this is have have the basic interface orientation occur around the crash ship, then have the tutorial that talks about gathering some scrap from the nearby piles, which are no longer in Umbrella's stream.
hmm
um, but use those as the opportunity to guide the player to walk toward Monolith 1.
hmm
And then at the base of Monolith 1 is where you should walk through the tutorial of how to actually construct things, so that the player is basically guided to put together their base at the base of Monolith 1.
Kind of
Uh,
like a chart.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I'm
fully
going to
agree with that,
pause right
and
here.
Yep.
Umbrella, you also said there should be something going on with the base of Monolith 1, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
a tutorial. Okay, great. Cool. Then I'm going to cut off all tutorial discussion. I'm just going to ask two yes no questions and then we're moving on. For Dixie and Phoenix, yes or no, should a big chunk of the tutorial be taking place under or close to Monolith 1? Dixie first, yes no.
Yes.
Okay, Phoenix, yes no.
yes, but I do want to clarify one thing because my brain is insisting that this
Sure.
used to be a thing. I swear that used to actually be how the tutorial went. You went to Monolith 1, found that it was destroyed, and then it went through the tutorial process.
Gotcha. Stuff is in the
That,
works.
that
That's
might
all
be
I
a
can
brain
say.
question.
And then a yes no question for everyone. I fucking forgot. That's pretty unlucky. Give
Write
me
it down.
yeah. I did write it down, and I have too many. Give me 10 seconds, and then if I forget it, um, uh, oh, yes. Okay. The last yes no, this is not we're not going to be able to discuss this within the hour, but if we want to discuss it afterward, great. Should machines have more clarity in some way? We won't discuss how, just in some way should machines have more clarity and of what they do and be more tutorialized, starting with Umbrella, yes no.
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Dixie,
Yes.
Phoenix.
Clarifying question before
Yes.
yes, no. Are we talking as you are building the thing or in some kind of menu?
I'm specifically thinking about like when you pull up the menu and you like hover over, like some of them say it shreds
Mm.
scrap. Like, do you want more tutorialized or anything like that?
More details would be good.
More details in some form. Great. Cool.
Yes.
All right. New thing. We're going to change this a little bit to the balance and grind. Um, I don't see this as being a super long talking point. Just, do you think it's the game overall is a little too grindy or not grindy enough? And then I'm going to switch the order, and then we're going to change it to like Monolith 1 of like, oh yeah, I think like the bio key actually doesn't take that long, but the tech key takes too long, or vice versa, or stuff like that. So basically, how many resources it takes to build stuff, how long it takes for stuff. You can also talk about like the resource gathering of like, oh, walking around is a pain in the ass to gather and stuff like that. I'm actually going to start with Dixie and then go upwards since she hasn't talked as much as everyone else. So Dixie, you can start us off. How grinding the game is, any thoughts on the grind to alleviate it or increase the grind, how you feel about it, that type of thing is what we're talking about.
Well, I think it's super grindy,
Okay.
but I'd like to see better clarifications on what each pile of scrap is possible to get,
Mm-hmm.
like parts that you would get.
Oh, so like in the other ones, sometimes it gives you copper, sometimes it gives you regular,
Yeah,
just clear. Okay, gotcha. Okay, great.
I don't really mind the grind. It's just it doesn't seem like it's really rewarding with what you really need to get in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning.
But
Like I said before, like too many buckets.
okay, gotcha. That's actually very useful info. Chris.
In general, across the board, not talking about specific objectives, I don't think that it's too grindy.
Gotcha. Um, so what I'm hearing from you and Dixie is it's not too grindy, but maybe increase the rewards, I guess, like frequency / quality of rewards.
Yes.
Or what do you think? Like, what is your problem with the grindiness? Because I heard a caveat, but I'm not sure.
Uh, my caveats are all specific to objectives.
Okay, could you clarify that a little bit more or expand on that?
Sure. Well, we're going to talk about tech key and bio key, and then I'm gonna.
Yeah, so we can cover the tech and bio key a little bit on this, and then we'll dive more into the tech and bio
Sure.
key.
The grind in this game is around objectives.
Okay.
Like getting the materials to put together a drone, for example. That feels reasonable and to me, and it feels satisfying to gather and assemble all of the things that you need to put together a drone. What doesn't feel satisfying and therefore feels grindy are the arbitrariness of the objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are those particular items needed for the tech key? Because it doesn't feel that there isn't in-game. What are the words that I'm trying to say?
There's not like lore or like a story point for like why 50 iron ore or 50
Precisely.
ingots? Yeah,
Precisely.
got
And
you.
like why 100 of this and only 40 of that, and why small gears and not large gears, and it feels like this is a very early iteration where somebody said, well, we need to consume a lot of resources to pad this out a little bit, so I'm just going to pick these things from the list with no rhyme or reason, and that's that.
Gotcha.
And so
I'm gonna pause real quick
Yeah.
just to ask a question to everyone. Yes, no. Would we want some explanation for why 50 gears as opposed to 100, and why this item? Like some lore, some tutorial, something. Umbrella, yes, no.
Yes.
Dixie,
Yes.
Phoenix.
What was the question again?
Do we want like some sort of story / lore explanation of why these specific materials and this quantity of materials for the tech key and the bio key?
Yes, but I will clarify when we're talking about the tech and bio keys more.
Great. Based. Awesome. Okay, Chris, continue. Sorry about cutting you off.
Yeah. So again, it's the the portions of the game that are setting up and establishing a base and constructing drones and building player equipment and gear and clearing out these piles of junk, that doesn't feel grindy.
Mm-hmm.
That feels as if I'm putting in a specific amount of work and I'm getting a reasonable and satisfactory amount of result from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why broadly across the game I don't feel that it's particularly grindy. It's these objectives that I feel don't. The game fails to convince me
Okay.
that these things are specifically needed versus these things are arbitrarily chosen.
Gotcha. Awesome. Umbrella. Restating the question. How do you feel about the overall grindiness? / like kind of balance of how much you need for like the tech keys and the bio keys, or like to construct specific machines, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then no, yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like if you want to also touch on the tech and bio keys, that's fine as well.
Yeah. For the grind itself, I feel that the grind is it's a fairly, like for the first tier, it's a fairly long grind, but for me,
Mhm.
it's not worth it because it's too simplistic. There's not, as it's been said, I don't think the result is worth the grind that you're doing, considering its simplicity.
Could it, to clarify, result being like the completion of Monolith 1, or what result are we talking about?
There were both the completion of Monolith 1 and the available items that you're able to build, construct, and etc. I feel that, I mean, if you're, I know, again, look, I know there's meant to be multiple monoliths and multiple tiers of stuff, but
Sure.
like I for games like this, I've always loved living in the tier 1 as long as possible, just to get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I so I can't speak on behalf of everyone here, but for me personally, that's why I feel that the grind for tier 1, however long that it is, it's unreasonable in its simplicity, because I don't feel you're getting enough in return for what you've done.
Gotcha. Shit. Then 2 questions for you specifically. Number 1, could you give me like 1 or 2 examples of like a tier 1 machine you would like to see to make your tier 1 feel more satisfying and less grindy?
I did actually have it, and then I think it was Phoenix pointed me in the right direction that the splitters have filters on them, stuff like that. So the what you I and
Oh,
it,
okay.
and it's a fair. I suppose it's a fair statement. I know technically you're kind of copying from other games, but I mean we've all seen the other games that have that similar feature, like Factorio, for example, now has a filter option on the filters. I believe Satisfactory does. I can't remember, but yeah, like that did kind of answer one of my biggest problems, because I was pretty much screaming in a mirror trying to figure out how the hell am I going to separate the different metals just so I could automate everything. Do you know what I mean? And then sure enough, once I found out we had filters, I constructed this monstrosity. But don't get me wrong, as ugly as the scrap is, I love its bulkiness and I love its rustiness, and that's why I say I love living in the tier 1 stuff. And for me, that's why I feel that the grind, however long it is, it's unreasonable because it's of its simplicity. I don't think you're getting enough out of being here, if you know what I mean, at this tier.
Gotcha.
Um,
But also,
Oh,
those filters are only in the experimental
Yeah,
version of
yeah,
the
yeah.
game.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know anything about
I
any kind of
that
filter.
that's a separate issue, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to does anyone not want the option to have filters on their splitters? Okay, great. Oops, I didn't mean to post that. I personally don't use filters, but I wouldn't not want it. So yeah, for Umbrella, I think like what I'm hearing is just add a little more functionality instead of like add new machines to tier 1 is basically what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually wouldn't mind a couple of new machines or different feature machines, like stuff to build in tier 1, because like as I said, I'd love to get more out of it. Like it just seems that there's definitely not enough here. Like I've seen other games where you could even, although albeit you're in tier 1, you could have upgraded versions of machines in tier 1, like so you could have, let's say, smelter level 2 or industrial laser
Mhm.
level 2, or um where in this, as you can see in the stream here, this is just an industrial laser from scrap, whereas in tier 1 you could upgrade this to a more autonomous laser, let's say.
Gotcha.
Something of that, just to kind of get more out of tier 1, because the sad part for me was, although technically I'm new to the game again after so long, I felt I just didn't get enough out of all this. There was so much room here for other machines or other features or something that could have been added, and I again, I got through it way too quick than I thought I was going to. And this, to be honest, this is just the tech, the machines. This isn't. We're not even talking about the tech key or being within the monolith yet. You know what I mean? Just out here.
Gotcha. I'm gonna pause real quick. I'm going to ask everyone, starting with Nyx, um, a a possible solution. Would y'all want it to be that there are earlier upgrades, so more machines slash earlier upgrades in tier 1, a faster progression to monolith 1? So instead of having like more stuff to do in the grind, just reducing the grind to get to tier 2, or 3, have an alternate solution. So my question is, for like M1, do we want a faster M1? Do we want like more functionality for machines in some way, or a different solution to make the grind feel more rewarding or less grindy, starting with Nyx?
I I understand where Umbrella is coming from, but
Mhm.
I don't feel in the same category, if that
Okay,
makes
no
sense.
problem. Great.
I'll
Dixie.
get into it in a bit in a
Yeah,
second.
sure, no problem.
I think that the upgradable for tier 1 would be a good idea. Like maybe an upgrade would be to go a little bit faster
Okay.
on a machine. Or maybe
Um,
like a tier 2 laser where you have a bigger path that you could destruct at one time.
mm-hmm. Before M1. Chris.
I th- the suggestion that I offered, that
Okay.
I think is in line with what Umbrella is talking about. I think that each of the tiers should have a focus and a specialization that causes you to want to continue to use that tier. So even
Mm.
after you've unlocked NWR, that shouldn't just eliminate your desire to ever build anything from the scrap tier. I think that you should still have a reason to want to use machines from the
Mm-hmm.
scrap tier. And my proposal was the scrap tier stuff should process faster. You should get the end result faster, but consume more raw resources.
Mm-hmm.
And NWR is maybe more conservative at your raw inputs, but slower as a consequence, just as an example. So something along those lines where
Mm-hmm.
there's a clear trade-off, and so it's not just, oh, I've completed monolith 1, now I have NWR, now I destroy all of my scrap tier things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so by having a, a thematic purpose to a tier, it could still encourage you to continue to use the tier 1 things like Umbrella's doing even after you've unlocked the other stuff. So it's not necessarily that you purposefully delay your advancement. It's just, oh, yep, now I have more options that I can intermix.
Great. Awesome. Um, and then Umbrella, for you specifically, I have one more question.
Mhm.
Do you have any ideas on how I'll ask this and then I'll bias it a little bit after your answer. Um, any ideas to how to make M1 more rewarding slash feel less grindy? Um, other than like messing with the machines. And then I'll
Um,
try to say what I'm thinking
yeah.
afterward.
Well, the end goal for M1 is Monolith 1.
Sure.
I would say, and because currently as it currently stands from what I said, yeah, like by all means, create some kind of upgrades for the industrial like for the machines. I mean, one idea I would say, if you're able to upgrade the industrial laser where it becomes a bit autonomous, where it automatically adjusts its pitch and its angles to find
Mhm.
to find the scrap itself, rather than you having to go back to it each time to realign it to the scrap or something like that. Excuse me. Maybe as well. Pardon the French, but for shits and giggles, um, I would say even add content would be the word I'd use to Monolith 1, in terms of what you need to do, because it just says get the tech key, get the bio key, but you know, look at where you are. Look at there's 3 floors to this place. Surely there's something more that could be done here. To make the grind more reasonable, like more stuff is required of you to get the keys, rather than the what was it like tech key, I mean, these are you could find half of these things in the junk piles as it is, just by using your own arm laser.
Mm. Gotcha.
I would say, um, try and promote the player to not go around on their feet with their laser to do that. Promote the player to use the machines to get stuff, to make stuff, to do this. Because that's what I found I had to do. I didn't really want to be running around the map knowing that I really could, and I would probably find things twice as easy just by using the laser on my arm to go through the scrap and get an odd gear here, a basic motor there, or a basic capacitor in some random pile,
Gotcha.
where the fabricator is there, for example, to create that stuff. Give the player the reason to do that.
Yeah. I'm gonna pause you, and I'm
Yep.
actually gonna cut you off, and I'm just going to ask everyone 2 yes/no questions, and then final thoughts over this. No.
I haven't had a
Number one.
chance.
What's up?
I haven't had a chance to say my thoughts on the grind yet.
Oh yeah, go for. I'm so sorry. I thought you
Yeah,
did. Then go for it. Yeah.
I want to put this out there because I'm glad I was last. I have talked to Rich in the past,
Mhm.
various different Discord messages. You can probably find them somewhere. I don't know where they are anymore. I recall Rich saying in the past that Monolith 1 is supposed to be a test of some kind. The machine or whatever it is that we are serving is trying to test us because we are not some kind of standard that it was expecting. So Monolith 1 is supposed to be our test, and that Monolith 2 is where the grind is supposed to actually start. So he makes the grind intentionally smaller on Monolith 1 for that reason. And drawing from other experiences that I've had with various other factory building games, a big draw of the factory building game is knowing what you are getting into whenever you restart the game.
Yeah.
Because that's a big pull of factory building games is the replayability. As an example of that, when I recently went through, well, not recently, but when I last went through and started a new game, Monolith 1 was maybe a 1 to 2 session experience for me. The whole thing was 1 to 2 sessions. So I do not feel like the grind is bad at all in Monolith 1. Monolith 2 gets a little bit big, but it's also where the only quote-unquote content of the game is at right now. So, yeah, I do not feel like the grind is bad.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. Then, since I was unfair, I will start with you again for this question. Especially since you put that piece of information in, and especially for like this would already be satisfied if you're playing a new game, or if you're doing a new game plus, but not for new players. Do we think? Yes, no. You can add like a sentence or two. Yes, no. Do we think that adding some clarity of some more clarity, because you can already press, I think it's K, to see like what the NWR tier is, and like I guess you assume eventually like, oh yeah, after Monolith 1 I'll get it, but just having some more clarity that, hey, this is what you get after Monolith 1 would alleviate the grind or alleviate some of these problems, either for yourself or for kind of like this concern of grindiness. I'll start with you, Nix.
I don't think it would, and the main reason why is
Okay.
because there are going to be people like Umbrella who come in and want to exist within tier 1. So the immediate thought for fixing that would be mods of some kind, like a placeable item in the machine that does something faster, shredder, fasting, or more output from the separator, something.
Gotcha. Yes, no to mods. That like you can put like maybe one mod on scrap machines and two mods on NWR machines, and mods would function as like make it a little more efficient or make it a little bit faster, kind of like they do in Factorio if you've ever played it. Yes, no, Dixie.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Umbrella.
Yes.
Awesome. Great suggestion. See you. Awesome. And then Phoenix, did you have anything else to say? Otherwise, I have a last yes no question.
No.
Okay, great. Then last yes no question. I'll start with Dixie. Do we like the tier 1 scrap laser machine thing that you kind of have to direct? Yes, no, Dixie.
No.
Chris.
No.
Okay.
Really no.
Umbrella.
Biggest no.
No.
Nix.
I say yes, mostly because I don't like dealing with all the other stuff that comes with picking up the scrap stuff. But also I agree that there needs to be another tier of laser sometime soon to alleviate the finickiness of the scrap laser.
Gotcha.
It's like
Okay,
it's never where it should be when you need it. You know,
Exactly.
because the height of the junk piles are so different.
yeah,
You're
gotcha.
always fiddling with it.
And then, sorry to go back to my last yes no. Dixie, yes no. Would you like to know kind of what's ahead of M1? And would that like help alleviate the grind for you or potential players?
Yes.
Okay, Chris.
Uh, I'm a bit mixed on this. If if in the build menu, all of the machines had reasonable descriptions that made it clear
Mm,
what constructing this thing will do, um, then maybe, but it's not. The satisfaction that would come from that is very small.
okay, gotcha. Umbrella.
Sorry, can you repeat it to me?
Yeah. What like so? Would you like to know, like, hey, after M1, I can do all these things, and that would make the M1 grind a little bit more tolerable to you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I have some mixed levels of clarity for this. Um, does anyone else have like a 1 minute on the grind? All right, great, perfect. Nix, sorry, do you still have to go in like 15 minutes?
Like 10 minutes, but go
Okay,
ahead and ask.
great. So here's what I'm going to do. Is there a topic you would like to cover next, and we can go over that topic next, and I can bang out the rest of them afterward.
Oh, let me double check your list.
So and if you have something pressing you want to cover, we can also detour. But if you think something on the list is more pressing than something on your list, that's fine as well.
No, I think the biotech and the key stuff, because we were starting to lean into that a bit.
Okay, great. Let's lean into it more, and I'll give you the more open question and narrow it down from what you're saying. So yeah, whatever you want to talk
So,
about for the tech and bio keys, I will say to everyone, the bio key specifically is getting heavily reworked. So instead of saying I don't like it, just tell me what you don't like why you don't like the bio key, if that's something you want to cover, or since it's getting reworked, why you like it specifically. But we don't need to focus too much specifically on the bio key, and go for it.
yeah. So with the tech and the bio key, Chris brought it up earlier. It is very, very arbitrary what the purpose is behind this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would like in game some kind of explanation, some kind of showing of some kind, or some lore or something that you can find that explains, look, you're not what the big machine that you found in Monolith 1 is expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trusted. You need to show that you are capable of providing stuff to activate this monolith, and then have the requirements reflect that. One, you probably are wasting resources just to show that you are capable of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
that you are capable of showing this thing, hey, I'm bringing all this list of stuff that is pointless. But then also, like, maybe with the bio key side, maybe a little bit with the tech key side, have there be some visible damage or something on Monolith 1
Oh
that
sure,
as
yeah,
you bring this stuff in, it starts repairing itself. It starts fixing the tower.
Including
Have
the
it
ramp.
make more sense as to why you are bringing this stuff in to the
gotcha.
Monolith 1.
Then I'm going to quickly ask two yes something to say. Okay, great. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to two yes no questions real quick. Yes no number one, starting with Dixie and going up. Um, do we want more explanation slash focus on like, hey, you are being tested, and add like a few more voice lines and maybe like some what's it like question marks or something?
Yes.
Okay. Chris.
Yes, there is a voice line in there. It does already
I know.
say
Yeah.
that you are being tested, but yes, I think some more emphasis or clarification would be good.
Great. Umbrella.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. And I've C. There we go.
If
Okay.
if
Cool.
I can just expand on that, Fornari,
Yeah. Go
sorry.
for it. Go for it.
I did. I mean, I only recently kind of got into this building, and I found that you know,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of lore here that they were doing research, they developed something, have run tests, and PAL has given. So obviously,
I found that.
so given that, if anything, I'd say try and give a little more to the lore with PAL, because clearly, I mean, unless I'm way off here, but PAL is obviously the voice we're hearing in the first tower, or the
Yeah.
first monolith, you know. So the fact that PAL has its own kind of texts or teasing text, like where, you know, oh, you know, there's a little bit of a story here. If anything, just expand on it a bit. Try and bring PAL to life a little bit more.
I'm going to cut you off on that, specifically because, and to excite everyone here, I just read like a 40 fucking page PowerPoint on our ideas to expand the lore, specifically PAL. So yeah, there will be a ton of expansion on that, and then hopefully some pointers to actually point you to like that building, for example, because I have no idea what the use for that is, but I stumbled upon it when I was taking screenshots for the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, great. Second question that Phoenix brought up. Do we want or do we think if this isn't feasible, then fuck me, but should there be like some internal damage to, or I mean even external damage to Monolith 1, that when you bring like after 50 cogs it repairs like this little machine, and maybe there's like a small cutscene or something? Yes, no, starting from Umbrella going down.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that would actually alleviate a couple of the grind
Okay.
worries that we have, whereas we feel that there's not enough there to justify it. But yeah, I
Mm.
think that would definitely support and definitely add to the content and add to the overall experience.
Great. Chris.
Sure. I mean, anything that makes the specific items feel less arbitrary.
Gotcha. And Dixie while I'm writing.
Yes.
Awesome.
I mean, we bring all these parts, and what do they do? I mean,
Mhm.
the machine just basically eats them, but it didn't tell you what for. Has some little bits and bobs here and there that will repair as you're putting things in.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um,
So yeah, I gotta
Great.
dip out for now. Hopefully, y'all continue to have a great conversation because this one's been great so far.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nix. If you want to talk further, there's always messaging here.
Yep.
And did you have any last things to say before you dip out?
Not really. Like, I would love to have been able to stay and get all the points and whatnot, but I'll read what you guys post, and if anyone's still around in 4, 5-ish hours, I might be back.
Okay, great, man. Thanks so much.
Alrighty.
Nice meeting you or nice voice chatting with you.
Yes.
And yeah, see you and
Yep.
have a great day.
See you.
Cool. I'm just going to put a break here. Break for when he left to do. And just letting everyone know, it's been going on for about an hour, so if anyone needs to dip out or dip out soon, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep going strong and hopefully keep this to another 30 minutes. But does anyone need to dip or have anything that needs to be said urgently or anything like that? All right, fucking awesome. Um, I just broke my concentration super hard. I guess I guess I'll throw it over to you, Dixie. Just go back to the basic general question of any thoughts on the tech or bio keys. Since I already asked the two big yes/no questions I got from Phoenix. Just anything you want to talk about specifically regarding the story of the tech and bio keys, Monolith One, that type of thing.
Well, just what I said a few minutes ago. There's some as we're putting them in, have them make a reason. You know,
Hmm.
what are these for? Well, these parts will help clean up the air. These parts will let it rain. These parts will do this or that.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. Because What's all these parts for? That's what I kept asking myself. Why do you need 50 gold bars? Why do you need so many whatevers of this and that, you
Hmm.
know? Why do you need so many circuit boards, and why does it take so many dang circuit boards to make a processor?
Sure. Um, I have a question after you said that, Dixie. For actually for everyone, I'll start with Umbrella and go down. Would you guys be interested in like a 3-part tech key? Like you have to, or I don't know, like it's a circle, so I guess like a 3 or 4-part tech key,
Oh, like
where
an
like, hey,
assembly.
yeah, and you just like it's literally you just store it and then combine it, but like since I heard something from Dixie like, hey, these like 2 or 3 items are specifically for like atmospheric pressure, and then
Mm.
these 2 or 3 are for like repairing the plant. And like once I assemble the 4 pieces of Voltron, I actually
Yeah,
like
yeah.
do the monolith one thing. But yeah, do you think like piecing it out a little bit more would be helpful or good in
Absolutely.
some?
Yeah, for me, absolutely. Like I was actually sorry, I got lost in thought there after Dixie was saying like about like justifying what each piece is for, and then I was specifically just looking at the ingots, and I said, do you know what? I got it. Plating on the part of the key.
Hmm.
That makes sense. So there's your ingot solved, and then like for the motors, okay, well I can see that the tower has big ass turbines on it. So there's your motors, the small gears, part of the motors, and then I'm gonna let somebody else come up with ideas for the processor and circuit boards.
Yeah,
But
gotcha.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that again, that justifies the grind a little bit. Maybe as I said, alongside perhaps the upgrading or expansion of machinery in tier one, but an assembly task for a 2 or 3 or 4 part tech key would be definitely worth it to me to kind of further justify the grind and the completion of tier one or M1.
Mhm, gotcha. Chris.
Again, I'm ambivalent about how it ends up being implemented. These all sound like great ideas.
Okay.
The key thing to me is just justification. Right now, this feels like a very arbitrary list of items, and anything that makes it seem like, oh yes, this was chosen because it has a purpose, rather than this was chosen because it was the first thing in the drop down list.
Gotcha. And Dixie.
I just want everything to have a reason.
Sure.
Hmm.
And do you think piecing it out would be of the many solutions? If we went with this, would you be happy with this as a part or full solution of this having a reason?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I guess to give my thoughts on this a little bit, I think this part will probably be I'm just going to present a bunch of stuff to Russell, and whatever he thinks is most feasible, slash makes the most sense, whatever, we'll probably go with like 1 or 2 solutions is what I would imagine would happen. So this is more so just like preempting you guys. This is more so like, do you think this is a good solution? Great, everyone thinks this is fine. Is this a good solution? Great, everyone thinks this is fine. No problem. Like this is now more so like, does anyone think this is a bad idea or would dislike it?
Yep.
Um uh did I ask Chris and Umbrella overall thoughts on Monolith 1 and the tech key? Chris, did I ask you about
Not
it?
not yet.
Okay, great. Cool. I'm still going upwards then. Yeah. So yeah, overall thoughts, anything else you want to cover on this?
I, I again, I'm my thoughts on both tech key and bio key are the same that I've already said,
Mhm.
which is show some purpose,
Mhm.
show a justification, show a reasoning, show a rationale as to why these things are necessary. And again, it can be, as I typed in the channel, it can be a total like purposeful test. The AI of Monolith 1 is purposefully testing us as long as it just says something like, I need you to restore my stockpiles
Sure.
of parts. Because then suddenly it's like, oh, I'm not just throwing these things into a blender and something comes out. It's, oh, okay, I get it. You need 200 of these capacitors because your stockpile holds 200 and you're out. Okay,
Mhm.
I got it. That's fine. It just right now it feels very arbitrary.
Okay, great. And sorry, just as a side note, also, if you guys just want to pass, like I already said, everything, that's
Yep.
perfectly fine as well.
Yep.
Umbrella.
I mean, yeah, look, I agreed on the tech key. I gave my opinion towards it. I mean, I think the same could probably be said for the bio key. Have reasoning, have a story, give us some kind of, uh, maybe even we talked about the building that's there and adding to the story of what the scientists were trying to do to build PAL, and they were talking about a process that they managed that PAL was able to figure out for them. They just didn't have enough time to build it. Maybe even work that in as a bit of lore or recording, or actually, and I mean, look, there's an idea. Why not have excuse me, a station that you can go to in Monolith 1, and you can hear the audio logs of the scientists talking about what they were doing, and that gives you hints, let's say, towards how and why you need to bring these particular items to form these keys. Something to kind of entertain us just from the uh, arbitrariness of the items themselves. Even if PAL can't give us a voice over of why it needs them, some kind of fun audio log of what the scientists were doing, like the test they were doing, to give us an idea, and even play hint to us and let us come up with our own story as to why these items are needed and what's what, something like that.
Sure. Sure. Great. Awesome. Does anyone else have anything? Oh, and does anyone have any ideas, any thoughts specifically on likes or dislikes of the bio key, since we didn't cover it at all? Just out of curiosity.
Yes.
Yes. Chris.
Uh,
Vicious. What's up?
So I have seen the videos of Monolith 3 and the hives and the bumblebees and the plant growth, and so I fully acknowledge that a lot of that's going to get backported and have some impact on the biokey.
Sure.
Yes. That said, having to run back up and pick up a new seed every time is obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
When you plant something, you should not just get the plant back. You should also get some seed.
Oh
Or
wait, that already is a thing. That might be in a earlier build that it wasn't, but I believe it's
it,
you get 2 and 2, if I'm
it is
correct.
you do not get seeds
Oh no, no, no,
in the
I'm sorry. You
release
have to like
branch.
grind up the
Yeah,
thing
you
so
have to
you.
put them
Okay,
out
Yes.
like
yeah,
in the
yeah. Sorry,
workbench.
sorry. Completely disregard what I said. Yeah, go
Yes.
for it.
By the way, if that's in the experimental branch that you get seeds back from harvesting, great. I have not played the experimental branch.
Yeah, so I haven't. Just to clarify, I think the current solution, or what I did at least, was one seed gives you 2 plants, and then you just grind up one of the plants to get. I think one plant gives you 1 seed, or one plant gives you 2 seeds, or some shit. I don't remember.
You can get a
And then
seed back by grinding the plant?
yeah, I mean that's how you usually do it. Like
Oh
you put
no.
a
Yeah, you like
cucumber in
What
a grinder, and you get 5 cucumber seeds, right?
what I did
Mhm.
was I
or
stood in
like
front of the seed
tomatoes.
dispenser and I took all the
Yeah,
seeds
yeah, yeah.
and
I understand what. Yeah.
saved and I reloaded because that resets the 5-minute timer.
Oh, okay,
And then I
gotcha.
took
Yeah.
more seeds and I just took as many seeds as I needed because I can load really fast. And then I went down and I just planted them all. But uh the act of I dislike any across all games, I dislike the mechanic where harvesting something completely destroys the planted thing and you have to replant it from seeds. It would be really nice if I plant the seeds once and then it just continues to grow to
Yeah,
a
like a
per
normal
planter,
plant.
yeah, to a per
Yeah.
planter cap. Like maybe it's never going to accumulate more than one plant in that space, but as long as I don't like erase the seeds, it will keep replenishing.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
That's
Okay.
what would be nice.
Okay. Then just 2 yes/no questions to everyone. Starting with Umbrella. Number one, your seed gathering experience, just in general, horrible or fine?
Horrible.
Okay.
Too simplistic and not
Uh,
worth it.
Dixie, seed gathering, horrible or fine?
I didn't find it too awfully bad.
Okay, no problem. Horrible.
It was the water pump I had the problem with.
Gotcha, no problem. And then, the other yes no question was, make plants work more like, plants, where if you plant it and then you grab your, I don't fucking know what stays planted and what
So
doesn't, but like it, like an apple tree. The apple tree doesn't fucking explode after you gather the apples. It
yeah,
yields
agree
more
with
apples next year. Yes, no to starting with Dixie.
yes.
Chris, you already said that. Umbrella.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, like, awesome. Anyone? Or sorry, Chris. Did you have more to say on the Bioki?
Um, I have more to say about the water mechanics and the
Same.
It was a
irrigation,
nightmare.
and why can't I put a pipe into the irrigator?
Oh, you beat me to it. I was badly dying to fucking say
I
that.
think that's a little too deep into the Bioki, so I'm going to scrap
Yes.
that side of the conversation.
Yeah.
Boo.
Okay, anything for the tech and fuck the Bioki. We're done with the Bioki. Anything more for the tech key specifically?
Nothing from me.
For anyone else?
Yep, I'm good.
All right, great. Then, Umbrella, I'm going to ask you to speak not as much on this because I got a lot of your notes
Yep.
from this. But I talked a lot, and I didn't add this initially, and then I went back over my notes with Umbrella talking about player buildings. Because for me, I just build the building, and if it works, it works. That's kind of how I do it um, for like third person factory sims, where like I play 2D factory sims much differently. So I'm going to ask Dixie and Chris any overall thoughts on like how construction and like snapping buildings and placement and stuff, how your feelings on it, and then I'm going to ask some more pointed questions on that. So yeah, specifically for Dixie, do you have any thoughts on player construction, snapping, how the buildings work, how they look, anything like that? I know you specifically said like immediately it wasn't apparent like where I hook up the power to stuff. So that would be like something for clarity of the buildings. Anything like that.
Um, I done everything with the large tiles for foundations.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I liked it a lot better, but when you went to the other stage, they wouldn't snap together.
Mm-hmm.
And I had problems getting them to line up just perfectly, even the original in tier 1 to snap together on like slopes and things,
Mm-hmm.
because it wanted to drop below where I didn't have a flat surface to build anything on.
Mm-hmm.
But the walls and everything else I didn't have a problem with.
So mostly just the foundation was your big issue for
Yeah,
snapping.
because I basically just used most of the foundations. I didn't have walls and ceilings and all that other stuff. In general, I did have it on around my workstation.
Okay, great. Chris, specifically, if you could start with snapping, and then you can
Oh my
talk about
God.
whatever.
All right, everybody, put everything down. I'm gonna take up the rest of the call with this topic alone.
I just
Actually, let me load up a save and
Okay.
show you. Let me show you.
I'm gonna pause
thing.
just for 5 seconds. Umbrella, do you have something to say while he's loading up the save?
Yeah, and
I do-
I'm
yeah.
kind of freaked out. Do you remember when you and I were on a call last, and I was going over the alignment of crates, for example, on snapping?
Yeah.
Why the hell are they all working now? I just realized now the snapping is working on them for some reason.
Are you playing on the
Infinity.
experimental build?
I was playing on the maybe no. I was playing on the experimental build. Was I?
No, you weren't, because you were questioning when we were in the call. You were questioning why the like the filters on stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, yeah. So obviously something was done for the experimental build where the snapping worked for the crates. But yeah, look
I
again.
will note that because I don't know.
Again, I'm not going to talk much on this topic because me and you had that conversation. But
Yeah.
I'm just going to reiterate that just for construction and grid and stuff like that, if we could just have an overall grid for the map where the snapping will always work and line up, so we can prettify it, because that's way a lot of people like to construct. And uh, just a point to note, I did hint at, as you can see, I'm at spending a ton of scrap on just doing platforms. If there were,
Sure.
I mean, considering that this is a tier 1 and it's technically a dead planet, I would have one wish where we can kind of go back to basics and harvest a cliff just for concrete, to create concrete platforms or concrete ramps and stairs, just to uh and again, look, I've been answered with it's justifiable because the game is called JUNKPUNK, and I get that. And that's a very fair statement to make. I'm only saying it from an industrial uh, point of view, in terms of what makes sense. The fact that you're trying to revive a dead planet.
Sure. Great.
But that's it, and I will leave it at that. I won't further expand on that because I don't think it's really worth
Awesome.
me.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Chris, I'm now watching your stream.
Right.
Actually, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Oh, does it work? No, I can't drag it to my second monitor. Discord is fucking
Discord
horrible.
is terrible about that.
Oh,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Wait,
just got the
yes,
one screen.
I
For
can.
the other one.
If
Okay, based.
if
You
you
have
use the pop out, then it should work. But
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm looking at it.
all right, so
You got whole Jesus Christ. Yeah. Great.
Yeah,
so
you
I got
the
a
second
base,
layer.
and this is my simplistic base from
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
the restarted one. So first of all, the fact that you can only snap walls and floors to the top of an item,
Oh
you
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
you
Yep. We
can't
covered that.
snap them to the bottom. Ah! The wildly divergent sizes of things. So here's this giant tower that holds 30 items.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Alt key again. And then here's this tiny little cube that holds 10 items.
Mm-hmm.
Giant
Yeah, that makes
tower,
sense to me. No,
tiny
it's fine.
cube. Just the wild discrepancy of here's a smelter that occupies basically 2x3 floor tiles and turns scrap into ingots.
Mhm.
Versus here is this giant forge
Yep.
that
yeah, they're
occupies
oversized.
that turns ingots into metal.
Yeah. Pause real quick. Umbrella,
Sure.
do you also agree that shit is weirdly scaled and over/undersized?
Yeah, I was actually expecting a whole lot more with the the tier 2 forges than I was with the first one. And then as he said, seeing a very simplistic menu that's pretty much it's just a clone menu, or a cloned queue, kind of really unjustifies the size difference. It's just something that looks sexy and neat, and that's it. There's nothing else to it.
Gotcha. Great. All right, Chris, go, keep your going.
So here's a drone pad.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you cover it with the roof, then the drones just kind of bang into the roof and hover around, and they don't really know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't create this oddly specific gap, then any tiny bit of overlap to the landing column prevents the drones from landing with no indication that you've done that. The drone just
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you re-explain that? I just zoned out
Sure,
for a second.
sure.
Yeah,
So this is a landing pad,
I understand that. Great.
and the drone needs to come from the sky and come down onto that.
Great.
If I build one more roof tile right here, clearly not blocking it, but if I build one more roof
you're
tile
blocking
here,
the hitbox of the overall building instead
You're
of just the
blocking-
landing. Okay,
you're
I
blocking
understand.
the
Okay,
hitbox
thank
of
you.
the drone. The drone's hitbox is undefined to the player, but clearly has collision when it comes to this roof.
Mhm.
And so there's no clear indicator other than building a roof across the whole thing and then one at a time zapping away tiles until suddenly the drone can land. There's no collision on this landing column, which is required for the drone pad to work.
Like make a button where you can toggle off the hitboxes.
Yeah, so if I were to construct a floor piece right here, it would prevent the landing pad underneath from working
Yeah, I
without
understand.
giving me the player any indication that I've just done that.
Yeah. I
Um,
see. Okay, gotcha.
So I should be prevented from building here if it stops the functioning of that building below.
I am bolding that because that sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah, like
Sorry, I'm
hitboxes
responding to a
around
message.
around your
Yep.
machines.
Now, let me use my uplink station to show you another piece of this construction.
That's why I kept everything in a single layer.
So, the giant spaceship in the sky, where I have built my other base.
Yeah.
There's your island,
Wow.
You're way up there.
and here's the giant spaceship in the sky.
Amazing.
So I flew up here and I built this platform up here.
Okay, yeah,
And
great.
then I decided, hey, you know what? There's a bunch of
Oh, you
space
wanted to
down
build
here
a ladder, but you
that's
couldn't
not
because it
used.
can't snap from the
But
bottom,
you
is what
can't
you're about
snap
to
from
say?
the
Yeah.
bottom. So what I
Yeah.
had to do was fly all the way to the bottom of the ship and do this horribly janky thing where
Oh no.
I flew all the
Oh
way
god.
down here
Oh
to the
god.
bottom of the ship, all the way down here. And then I placed a foundation because from this foundation, I could then build upward, up, 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 and then build over, and
Yeah,
then
that
up,
that kind
Oh.
of
up,
looks
up,
like
up,
a
up, up, up.
I'm not gonna lie, I would have been totally pissed if to
And
do all that work
then
only for a foundation not to be able to be placed.
and then discovered that what I had created did not align with this original floor.
Oh no.
So then I had to
Yeah.
completely laser away this entire floor
I know
so
what you're
that
talking about.
I could drag over this new floor and build this new floor and then build upward from this new floor
the next.
and
Yeah, it's
construct
nothing satisfactory.
this entire thing. So, being able to snap to the bottom of a floor tile would
That way
be
you know that they're
real
lined up.
nice.
All right, I'm just. This was a great point. I'm not even going to ask. I'm just saying. Snap from the bottom. Just trust me, bro. This was a great point. Yeah, this is getting bolded. Amazing.
Yeah. So in addition to that, if you look at the suggestions forum, I posted a screenshot from Minecraft. There's a thing you can turn on called Show Chunk Borders, and it puts on these not real lines across the map that show you where the Minecraft chunk alignment is. And it's super convenient for construction.
Which one is it? Could you
So let me
Like
stop
I was saying, a hitbox around thing. That way you know line everything up.
that. Suggestions. Let's see. I put
Toggle Worlds Grid? Oh, that looks like it has a Minecraft thing. Yeah, let me see this.
Toggle World Grid.
Base.
So that makes it really convenient in Minecraft for lining up larger constructions because you can just basically follow that line without having to actually construct your own line or drag something out. And so having some sort of way that you can toggle a visible grid to better align your construction would be fantastic.
Question, yes, no question for everyone. Toggle grid like they do in Minecraft, apparently. Yes,
Yes.
no, Dixie.
Yes.
Umbrella.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Um,
We, go, we call it a hitbox, informs him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I usually call it a hitbox, but grid is fine as well. Then I have a question for, yeah, I already talked to Umbrella about this, so I'll throw it over to Dixie first. Um, I had the idea that like so Umbrella mentioned and we talked a lot about like how much of a pain in the ass it is to use the mouse. Like in 2Ds it's not that big of a deal, but when your perspective isn't like God's eye perspective, it's from like first or third person, it can become a big pain in the ass to use your mouse. I have two perspective ideas. Just give me yes nos to either of them, and
This
if you want to comment on them after, that's fine.
was this for
Of
building Fornari? Is that what you were talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Yeah.
for building, yes. For number one, to have like your course, so like moving things a lot, you use the mouse, but you can like press, I don't know, like numpad number 8 to move it like a pixel up, a pixel down, for numpad number 2. So having like buttons to specifically move it like 1 pixel or 1 unit, however much a unit is um in Junk Punk, is fine. Or number two, being able to change perspectives in some way, maybe changing the HUD, so you can use your mouse, but you have like a God's eye perspective instead of like first or third person. Does that make sense? Do both these ideas make sense to everyone, or do I need to re-explain anything?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
make sense.
I
Okay,
got it.
great. Yes, no to using buttons to more finely move stuff. Dixie.
Yes.
Chris.
I I wouldn't say it don't put it in absolutely, but I also it's not appealing to me, so I'd say don't invest dev time on it.
Okay. D. Uh.
It wouldn't stop me from playing the game if it was in, but it's not something that I'm asking for.
Okay. And Umbrella. Yes, yes, no, or maybe just to re-clarify that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I think that it would definitely be something for, again, it's a builder, and anything that can really help you, like make your builds pristine, would be a yeah for me. So
Great. And then point number two, some way either to change the perspective, toggle a HUD, or something like that. Just to change your perspective instead of doing it in first/third person.
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So it's sounding like we're more in agreement. Changing perspective is much more preferred than finely tuning, or both is fine, but specifically focusing on changing perspective.
That's my opinion.
Okay, Dixie, perspective better than buttons.
Yeah.
Okay, Umbrella. I'm assuming that's also true from our last conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perspective, pref, D, C, U. I had another question. And I forgot it. Um, any other? Does anyone want to talk right now about building stuff while I try to remember the other thing I wanted to ask?
And to me, it was just kind of hard to line bigger machines up with littler machines.
Sure.
They would tower over them, and you couldn't exactly see that they were centered good.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I guess I wrote this question down a little while ago, just to ask this real quick. The expenses for platforms specifically, too expensive or it's fine? Starting with Chris. For platform slash
You mean the
uh
construction cost?
yeah, the construction cost specifically for like platform stairs, stuff like that.
I mean, it's in a world of effectively infinite resources. Shrug, it's fine. I didn't have a big problem with it. It does shape how I construct my factory though, because it absolutely does cause me to focus on. I'm going to need a hell of a lot of NWR metal production to construct the giant platforms that you saw.
Gotcha. So the cost is fine. It's just like what the things cost will shape what machines you focus on, but it doesn't really
Yes.
matter, especially after Monolith 2 or after Monolith 1. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dixie.
I just stayed with the original platforms because I found it infeasible for me to make as many parts for the tier 2. I mean, it looked awful, but still, it still served its function. To me, I thought it was just too expensive.
Gotcha. And Umbrella, I already know you said the cost of stuff is insane for you,
Yeah.
especially because you're staying on tier 1. Gotcha. Okay.
That's why, and again, I'd just like to reiterate, that's why I would, again, it's only a personal thing, but that's why I would adore or love the ability to harvest like a cliff face to create concrete platforms to justify it a bit more.
Okay. Yeah, I guess for y'all, do we have any interest in harvesting like cliffs or the ground or something? Not so much like destroyable environment, but just like similar like the drones or point the laser at the mountain and get some rocks or something. Would that be interest to anyone? Starting with Chris.
I'm gonna say no, just
Okay.
because there's so
Oops.
many existing junk piles.
Sure. And Dixie.
No, because concrete's not really implemented that much.
Okay. Uh, oh, harvesting. Cliff research. No, DC. Okay. I genuinely forgot what I was going to ask for other building stuff. Does anyone else have any final thoughts on building stuff? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next topic.
I to harp back on the idea of
Sure.
the wildly inconsistent size of things. Um, the game includes floor tiles and wall tiles and roof tiles,
Mm-hmm.
and then never makes use of them and never seems to scale to size with those things. So to actually make use of walls and floor and ceiling, it would be nice if all of the machines were scaled with respect to normal floor tiles and wall tiles. So
Like,
having machines that would sit on a 2x3 floor
oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
platform or would fit within a 3 wall high floor building, a 3 wall high building. Um,
And do you want that specifically for like scrap is a little bit smaller and NWR is bigger? Or how would you like to see that implemented?
I would again I have no preference for if one tier is just always going to be physically larger models because that's the theme that we're going with. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I just want them to be consistent in fitting within specific floor uh, uh, floor tile quantities. So
Gotcha.
right now, the
Like the
floor
smelter is super big, so you don't
the
like
smelter is
it
super
makes it
big,
weird.
but it doesn't cleanly sit on like 3 tiles by four
Mhm.
Right.
tiles
Yeah,
wide.
it
It's like
hangs over.
yeah,
Ha-
it's like
have you
one.
played have you played Gunsmith, Chris? I completely
I have
forgot.
not. I have not.
Oh, okay. For my, Dixie, have you played Gunsmith?
But by the way,
No.
Umbrella, there is collision on those drones on the side vents. You can find collision, and so you can stand on them. But you got to go inside, and then you'll see like on the left side, you'll see some weird pipings.
Umbrella, are you there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm very
Okay, great.
Sorry.
invested in him getting to stand on this.
Got
Oh,
it.
great. Yeah.
Ta-da!
Oh no.
Now you're stuck.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I guess Umbrella's the only one that's going to know this. Umbrella, do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the Kevlar fabric thing that has like the spool of fabric and then it extends out a little bit?
Oh
You
yeah, 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 yeah.
know what it's like giga cancer to figure out what the hitbox is on that. Yeah, but I get what you're saying, Chris.
Yeah. So basically, if if the game ultimately wants us to be constructing buildings and not just flat platforms,
Mm,
then the machines need to be able to fit within the scale of buildings.
hmm
And to achieve that, they need to be a bit more consistent in their sizing.
And out of curiosity, do we care about the height as much, or it's mostly the width that we're caring about,
Uh, I mean,
or both?
I care about the height in the same way that I care about the length and the width.
Okay,
Um, because again, there's you have to build up a number of walls and then construct your roof across it. And
sure.
if things are like 4.5 wall heights, or like
Yeah,
some
you're just
things
gonna have
are
like one that's
6
super
wall
tall,
heights.
and then like a bunch of
Yeah,
others that are like half
yeah,
the
you end
height.
up with a bunch of wasted space
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you build one flat roof to accommodate multiple machines.
Yeah. I guess like snapping from the bottom would help a little bit if you want to have like upside down machines or something like that to save a little bit. But yeah, I got you. A lot of these are interlinked.
Oh,
Uh,
I wasn't even thinking of machines being able to snap and hang upside down. I was just thinking for
yeah,
snap to
like
bottom.
for
I
stairs and stuff like yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, gotcha.
I was thinking about machines that would snap together
Oh, okay, yeah,
without
sure.
a belt
Um,
in the tier 1 area.
Chris, yes or no to machines snapping together and not requiring a belt to go from one machine to another?
The ability to snap them together and not require it, yes, but I wouldn't want to be forced into that.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Make it optional.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
forced.
I like small compact builds.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Umbrella?
Yeah, I agree. The ability to do that without it being a compulsory thing, like you have the choice of either using a machine-to-machine connection or a belt-to-machine connection.
Okay, based, yeah. Especially from Gunsmith, that makes sense. Yeah, then I guess we got our last two topics. I'm going to go since we well, I guess we covered both of these. Um, yeah, I guess I'll ask it both at the same time. Resource gathering? No, I fuck that. No, I'll just ask for resource gathering. Um, how do we feel about resource gathering? Is it a big pain until you complete Monolith 1 and you get drones, or we kind of like the scaling? We would like more in M1. We would like more in everything. What are we feeling? Thoughts on that, and then I can give some more um uh some more thoughts and pointed questions on it. I'll start with you, Umbrella.
Um, I I'm probably not far enough to know fully, but I'll just ask the question to put me right. Do do you need to acquire scrap or junk for anything when or after M2?
Can you ask that in a different way? I'm not understanding.
So we need to harvest scrap to build things for Monolith 1 and build machines
hmm
for Monolith 1. Do we have to continue to get to find scrap for M2 after, let's say, we have acquired the ability to mass produce scrap without having to
Oh, do you
harvest it?
literally need to interact with the scrap piles? Is what you're asking?
Yeah, at that
Oh,
point, because as you said, there is a point which I've gotten to now with the landing pads because they go and get the scrap, but at that stage, like we're virtually like lying in infinite resources, infinite scrap.
y-
Do I need to interact or use any of the other scrap on the map at any point in time
n-
after that?
no. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but after you
The
get
one
drones, you have unlimited resources and don't need to touch the scrap piles. Yeah, am I
the
right on
one
this?
exception that I can think of, I don't think drones can harvest rubber.
Oh, interesting.
And so,
Yeah, they can't.
or
They can't harvest rubber.
They cannot
but
harvest rubber?
As far as I can remember, no, they can't.
You do not. Okay, great.
So
but none of the NWR tier items require rubber.
what?
Okay,
So
But
gotcha.
what about the cables
so
for pairing machines?
Yeah, yeah, you still need the electrical cables
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
oh
Um,
yeah,
to hook them
I end up
together.
just creating like
Power.
300 of those in the beginning and then never
yeah.
worry about them again.
I think Fornari for that it requires a little bit more thought and development maybe because like I one question I'm always saying to myself is there not too much scrap on the map, like where in some games, for example, you would have like a scrap pile, but that's a resource pile containing a certain number of scrap that you can just attach, let's say, a laser to it and then run a belt from it, and that's a resource pile, and then eventually that runs out and you go and find another
Yeah.
one. So it might have the value of, let's say, 1 million scrap, let's just say, let's just
Mhm.
put that number there. Then eventually you use all that scrap and you go and find another one somewhere, and you just extend your belt out to that other one, let's say. And again, you could probably do the same for, like, you have different like singular piles, like one for regular scrap, one for electronic scrap, one for rubber scrap. Because for me, I'm always trying to work out the justification of running around and having so much scrap on the map, let's per se, where
Mhm.
what's the use of it all when you're able to get through monolith 1 so quickly, get to monolith 2 and get infinite resources at that point. Currently that leaves us with the only thing you really need to run around the map for at that point is rubber scrap just for cables, where technically at M2 you should have the ability to create those cables a different way by then.
Okay.
Right, like a different cable.
Yeah.
I'm going to add. Actually, I'm only going to ask two questions. Question one. Are there too many scrap piles? Just in general, do we want less scrap piles? Yes, no, Chris.
No, I love the number.
Okay, great. Dixie.
I think it's too many.
Okay. Phoenix, if you can hear us, yes, no, too many scrap piles. Um.
He's on mute.
Yeah, but I think you're gonna get text.
Oh, interesting. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, too many. Maybe. U and kind of P. Okay, gotcha. And then question number two. A finite pile of resources similar to like Factorio or like mining an oil well or something, where currently I believe you can like mine for sand and I think water or some shit. And
Phosphorus.
oh, for phosphate, yeah, but I believe that's infinite. Do we want? Is there an interest in having like a giant tire that you put a laser on, and, sorry, and it's finite, or like uh, a well or something like that? Throwing it over to Chris first.
I would actually like to see some degradation to these mega structures
Mm-hmm.
that the drones are harvesting from. Um, I mean, even if the existing megastructures remain infinite, I'd like to see some sort of change to the model that shows that we're doing it. Otherwise, though, one of my favorite parts of the game is running around like a madman and cleaning up
Cleaning
all of the
literally, yeah.
piles of the scrap because I feel a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, based. Great. Then Umbrella, I'm going to rephrase the question to you. What if there was like just degradation of some sort, but it remained infinite, or like there was some unlock where like after you destroy like all the rubber piles in the map, there's like a rubber vein that comes out that is infinite, but you can destroy everything else.
That would, to me, that would be fine. I think that kind of justifies it a little bit more. Um, just given what you can do with the current scrap at that point, because again, as Chris had said, he loves running around just cleaning up. But I'm asking myself, what are you cleaning up exactly, considering that you have an infinite way to get resources at M2? Like what?
Okay.
Again, I'm trying to understand the justification of running around cleaning up when you can get everything you need at M2 infinitely at that point.
Based, great. Dixie.
I kind of like the idea of having a giant tire.
And and how about degradation slash
Oh, I like running around collecting junk. It's just the junk is so uneven as far as the ditches and stuff that you come across. You never know how much is in the pile until you actually start digging through it. Oh, I'm just going to clear this little pile so I can put some platforms here. And then it turns into, oh my God, is this pile ever going to empty?
Mm-hmm.
And I found the drone slow. Like I said, I had 28 at the very end. I couldn't get enough plastic.
Gotcha. And I'm gonna read what Phoenix said. I would like. Oh, that's cute. Okay. Did I misspell? I didn't misspell that. Hey, cool. Resource gathering. I don't remember where the hell we are. What are you gonna? If this is the Michelin tire man, I'm gonna be upset.
No, it's a JUNKPUNK
Oh no,
screenshot.
there are giant tires.
Yeah,
Pog.
I
Right,
keep it
that's me.
topical.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Other stuff. I completely lost where the hell we are. I think I threw it over to Umbrella, and I don't know if I cut you off or not. So I guess Umbrella, you can keep going or some shit.
Yeah, no, I like again, I said it and then it was just expanded on. So, yeah.
Great. Any other ideas on gathering, and then I'll pass it over to Chris. All right, Chris. Any other thoughts on resource gathering, junk piles, anything like that?
So using the hand laser results in items that are not the named scrap. So you
Yes.
harvest a rare metal pile and you will get rare metal scrap, but also you'll get platinum scrap and you'll get processors and et cetera, et cetera. As Dixie said earlier in the discussion, there's no indication to the player that this happens or what kind of things can come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave a suggestion for, in the same way that we have a scrapping laser and a repair laser, maybe when we first have a conversation with Monolith 1, it should unlock a scanner laser
Yeah.
that can
Yeah,
give us
a scanner.
more information about these piles, particularly piles at a distance. Because right now, if you
Oh,
hover
okay.
your
Yeah, sure.
cursor over a pile that you are standing like 10 feet from, you can see, oh, that's an electronics pile. Oh, that's a scrap pile. Oh, that's a rubber pile. Okay, I got it. But if you're like 30 feet away from it and it's sunset, then you're like, is that a rare metals pile
Yeah,
or an
I gotcha.
electronics pile? I'm not quite certain. But if you had this blue laser that you could zap out and it worked like a laser pointer and could clearly show you this is the pile that I'm pointing to, and here's the hover text of, oh yeah, that's an electronics pile. Okay, got it.
Great. Pause. Umbrella scanner. Yes, no.
Yes.
Dixie.
Yes, definitely.
Great. You. There we go.
If
And
you want an example, I would even say a scanner similar to that of Satisfactory, where you ping and it tells
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm thinking of.
you can ping like the
okay.
different like specifically what you're looking for. Okay, I want platinum. Select platinum on the scanner. Ping, and you get a ping
Oh, okay.
something to
Yeah.
that. Because I think it would be too mass kind of very noisy is the way I'm thinking. If you just have a scanner and you just press scan and then everything shows up.
Okay, great. And for, I guess that changes the question a little bit, but yeah, I'll just ask: Do we want like an encyclopedia entry for the resources, instead of slash as well? I guess with like specifically pinging it to make it easier to like know, hey, I don't have to run around a lot. I guess this would be on top of, but yeah, like encyclopedia, yes, no, or comments, starting with Dixie.
Yes. Like a chart.
Yeah. Uh,
But
Chris.
the scanner
sorry.
that we're the scanner that we're talking about is something that's used. I don't know. I mean, something other than satisfactory. But I found it very helpful because you can't tell at a bigger distance what something is.
Yeah, I'll interject for a second. Has anyone played Space Engineers here, by the way?
Briefly,
Okay,
a
screw you
long
guys.
time ago.
Oh, okay, no
Yeah.
problem. In like there is so the big point is to go into space and like run around meteors and try to no meteors, right? Asteroids, thank you. Asteroids, and try to like scan out and figure it out, and like you can build a bigger and bigger and more expensive scanner to where you don't have to be like super close to the resource, and it'll give you like it'll give you like 3 pings, like, oh, there's nickel here, and then platinum here and uranium there. So yeah, I kind of get the point, and we can mess around with those functions a little bit later. But yeah, I think like especially for M1 that would make sense and to make it upgradable. But yeah. Sorry, I cut you off though, Dixie. What else?
So that's fine. Just something that would tell us at a distance
Okay,
what piles are, or a chart or something, or a button that we can push saying we're looking for plastic, scan around, and where's plastic.
great. Amazing. Chris, encyclopedia on top of scanner.
As long as it's in game, yes.
Great, yeah, of course. Umbrella.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. I forgot who was talking.
Uh, so the other idea, as long so these piles produce more than just the named scrap.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
To some players, that's a neat thing. To some players, that's a horrific annoyance because now they have 50 buckets and they know not what to do with them.
Recycler.
Yeah. So I think right now a lot of the player equipable equipment is just a very linear upgrade, and I think that's boring. I think having some variability within the equipment would be interesting.
Yeah, so like
So
some mods that only like
Yeah,
the scrap will
modules.
produce that.
yes, so
Okay.
a scrapping laser that increases the chance of getting those bonus items, and one that decreases the chance so that you only ever get the named scrap. I think those are interesting trade-offs to present to the players.
Mod slash different types of lasers that can prevent you from getting like fucking buckets from stuff to begin with. Starting with Dixie. Yes, no.
Yes.
Umbrella.
Yes.
Amazing. Cool. What did I just do? All right. Cool. Great. All right. Keep her going, Chris.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on resource harvesting. Is I like the current scanning, the current cleanup process. I just think you could introduce a little bit of variability the way those two ideas.
Great. Was Dixie next? For resource gathering? I genuinely don't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Dixie, go for it. General resource gathering.
Like we're talking about with the scanner, have a button that would say like A, plastic only, or B, more
Sure.
parts. It could be either or.
Yep.
Or mix maybe.
Great. Yeah.
Like a high, medium, or low setting.
Yeah, bunch of filters and medium settings and stuff like that. Yeah, I
I
gotcha.
mean, if it's not overly complicated.
Gotcha. Anything else from Umbrella? I already talked to you about scrap gathering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm losing it. Is now almost 3 hours and I didn't sleep, so apologies that I'm getting way more senile at the end of this. Any other thoughts on scrap gathering from anyone? Otherwise, we're gonna go to art style, then we're gonna go to last thoughts, and then we're gonna go to open conversation.
Nothing else to add. Resources.
Cool. Then I'm just going to go to general art. This is more like if you have any strong feelings on something, either you really like something or really dislike something, this is that section. Not like, oh yeah, I think this would kind of be changed. Just like your personal thoughts on like, I really like this or really dislike this. This would be, this is this type of section. And I'll start with Dixie.
I think everything looks pretty good.
All right.
I like
Perfectly.
running around with the silly saucepan on my head.
So like the like pickups for like the silly hats and stuff. Big deal.
Yeah, I'm running around with the saucepan on my head.
Amazing. Chris, any thoughts on the art?
No, it seems to work. I think it's fine.
Okay, great. And Umbrella.
I think the art is perfect. If I had any comment, I would say, like, when I start off, I don't imagine that I'm on Earth. I imagine that I'm on a different planet just from the overall look. Again, I know it's meant to be I know it's meant to be a dead planet, but if art-wise, I would say maybe try and associate it back to Earth. Maybe even just give us an indication that we actually are on Earth rather than
Wait. I'm sorry. Wait. Can I pause? Is there any indication in game that we are on Earth?
maybe there isn't. I missed it.
I assume that we're not.
Yeah. Wait. Why did you assume that this planet is Earth? Am
I've
I?
Oh, me, or why did
Yeah. You specifically, Umbrella.
I didn't. I actually did. At first, I didn't assume this planet was Earth. At first, I assumed it was an alien planet, specifically because
Mhm.
I've seen, and to be honest, this is probably my own fault because I'd seen movies and other games where, for example, Mars was associated as being called the Red Planet, and
Yeah.
when you
Sure. Yeah.
as soon as you walk as soon as you walk out of the as soon as you walk out of the ship, you're seeing a rustic red color.
Mm-hmm.
I was just brought back to Mars for some reason.
Yeah, but why did you say like you want to tie it in that it actually is Earth? That I'm gathering like you think the planet actually is Earth for some reason.
Oh yeah,
Or a
I
more
yeah,
Earth-like planet.
yeah. To be honest, I that's it. That's it. Like I am assuming that it is Earth, and like they obviously a global issue took place that couldn't be stopped, and the scientists did everything they could to save Earth and stop it. In which case now it's a dead planet that you need to bring back from the dead. Um, and I just got that because of the lore that I managed to read in those buildings. But again, I would say, like, I would hope that it's Earth because I think that would kind of tie into a nice little bit of a, you know, a warning to real life kind of thing, which is that life on Earth is precious, like as well, a game to true life kind of thing. That the way things is going.
I'm going to ask two questions. One is going to be super simple. Um, have as many tie-ins as possible to Earth in the storyline some way. Not necessarily that this is Earth or part of Earth, but just have some sort of tie-ins to Earth. A lot of them. Yes, no, kind of in the middle. Starting with Chris.
Ambivalent.
Ambivalent. Dixie.
In the middle. It's an
In the
Earth-like
middle.
planet.
Um, then I'm actually going to change the focus of this last part. Um, I'm going to ask what do we know about the lore of the planet? Just don't go looking for it. Just like off the top of your head. Tell me what you know about the lore and some overall thoughts on it. And I guess I'll start with Chris and go upward since or I guess downward since Umbrella already covered it. Chris, tell me about the lore.
So there's a couple of experiments that you can find that have some computer terminals that talk about
Mm-hmm.
basically a vague environmental disaster, a runaway effect with the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it talks deeper about some experiments that have been proposed that are going to be tested, and you can find on the map those like the giant jet turbine near Monolith
Yeah.
One. That's kind of about it.
Yep. Okay. No problem. Any thoughts on that?
Um, I, it's fine. I want more.
Yeah. Great. That's no problem. Yeah. Or lore. Dixie. Any thoughts on the lore? What's going
Well,
on?
I
Nope.
came across the dead bodies and wondered what happened.
Mm.
Wait a minute,
The
there's
What
dead
leaf,
happened to
bodies?
the planet that made it the way that it is?
the dead leaf units.
Yeah, the dead bodies that are in that one building.
Yeah, the robot
They
guys.
disturbed me. Is that what our fate's gonna be if we fail this test? We're gonna be like decommissioned.
That's to be honest, that's another reason why like I was trying to run along the side of associated to Earth, because I had it in my head, if this is so technologically advanced, or this society, or this race was, what would be the point in talking about a runaway effect? Because if that's the case, then just say, all right, abandon ship, everybody leave the planet, we're out of here. Do you know what I mean? Like, why try and save it so much if they could just leave?
And
That
why'd he come back?
that's a good, well,
It
that
needs so much work.
that's a good response. Yeah, that's why I suppose that's why, like, I was kind of saying, well, maybe it should associate it to Earth, because obviously you do everything you can to save the home planet. Again, look, it's just me.
Yeah. No, I got you. I will note that. I can't go more into detail on that, but I'll talk to Russell about that. And then Umbrella, I'll go back to you again. Any more thoughts on the lore or anything like that?
Um, I suppose, yeah, just expand it, because this was the most I was able to find in one place, which kind of gave me an indication as to what they were trying to do to save it. And obviously they ran out of time, or they just didn't get a chance to finish what it was they'd started. Um, I would say for the lore, it gives you a good idea as to what was going on. As one would say, just finish the story, finish the lore, or give us throw us in a bit more of a novel to, you know, the last days of the last team that was here, or the last people that were here trying to fix it and couldn't. Something like that.
Great. Awesome. Then I'm going to throw it over to to final comment. No, I'm not going to throw it over to final comments. I just got a message. Oh. Okay, sorry. Final comments. This is the tell me whatever you want. If you say anything, I'm just going to ask yes, no questions to anyone. So if you say like, oh, actually, like I gave the example of jumping. Oh, actually, I hate jumping. I'm just going to say yes, no. Do people like jumping? All right, continue with your final thoughts. So just final thoughts. This is the tell me whatever you want question, and then we can go to open discussion. And I might dip after a few minutes. But yeah, I'll start with you, Umbrella. Any final thoughts on anything? Tell me whatever you want.
Um, I'm not sure if I hit on this before with you, Fornari. I suppose one kind of thing I would love is, considering that you are a machine, possibly give us the feature of being able to use like a robotic zoom vision, like to see in the distance, so you can see the different.
Oh, okay, like giga binoculars, basically.
Yeah, so I mean, so you can
Okay.
kind of scan the island ahead of you, and,
Well,
and plan a build from a distance or something like that. Like, so you can kind of say, oh, I might put something over there.
I gotcha. I'm going to add that to the scanner.
And that's it from me.
Great, Chris.
I dumped a bunch of stuff into the suggestions forum
Sure.
channel. That's pretty much my thoughts.
Yeah, I guess an overall solution for you would be more communication from the devs in the Discord. Like, yep, we saw that. Great, awesome.
Yes.
All right, cool, no problem. Dixie, or I guess, yeah, I assume everyone's going to say yes to this, but just in case someone might say no to this, Umbrella, yes, no, more communication from the devs.
Yes.
Okay, Dixie, more communication from the devs.
Yes,
All right,
definitely.
great. Yeah, okay, obviously. All right, no problem. And then Dixie, final thoughts to you. Anything else you want to cover?
Not currently with what's available in game now. I just wonder about the future of the game, like most everybody else.
Sure. Anything specific about the future of the game?
Well, I know Monolith 3 and 4 are coming.
Mm-hmm.
What's the vision after that?
Monolith 5, of course. Got him.
Well, well, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I can give you a little more details about that. Yeah, um, so the next few monoliths are going to be more environment based. Our current plan is make them more environment based. Um, and then overall add some lore with each monolith. I think that's about all I can say. And then add some more lore in Monolith 1, Monolith 2, and then with Monolith 3 probably upgrade some more lore. I can't say more on the lore part. And then we're currently looking at different ways of how we can do upgrades. um, so just making sure it's not just like, hey, it's one, then two, then faster, then more fast. Yeehaw, have fun, and whatnot. So just making sure upgrades um don't feel like this is fast, then this is faster, then this is even faster. Wow, cool. And then adding more features. I guess the feature part um is more in flux of what to add when. And then all the other stuff is just overall thoughts. So I guess like a big part of the discussion right now is when are we what are we like 50% is what are we adding, and then another 50% is when are we adding that type of stuff. And I guess if there's something anyone wants me to more specifically touch on, I can do that, but I can't give more information than overall thoughts, really.
okay. But I was thinking more towards
Sure.
end game. What's the end goal?
Oh, what's the end goal? No comment. That's all I can say. Um, in I will say in the document I read, um, I thought it was a really cool ending. Um, it was a really cool idea for some different ideas for endings. That's all I can say is I like what Russell is doing, and I think it's really cool, and people will like it. That's about all. I cannot tell you more than that.
Well, I've never spoken to Russell, and like we all know, I'm new here, so
Yeah, no problem.
gonna kind of wing it along with what the experiences that I had from the game. But I was wondering what the end game is. Are we going to see people repopulate the planet and such things like that?
Yeah, I got you. Again, can't talk on it other than it's pretty
Yeah.
cool, and I have confidence in Russell, and I have read some ideas on it. Those are about the only 3 points I can say. Um,
Right.
Could I ask
yeah,
actually,
yeah, go for it.
is there any, or can you tell us, is there any given that you said that there's up to, monolith 5, monolith 6 or whatever, is there any plan to expand the map to associate that, or is the map going to forever be what it currently is in size?
Since part of this is publicly available, I can cover that a little bit more. So we did pitch in one of the monoliths. We had like some of the concept art being like, oh yeah, one of the monoliths is going to be like an island monolith, and maybe you can like build toward walking to it, or built toward walking to it, or like we make some sort of structures or something like that. So yeah, definitely like changing the map is on the table. That's also kind of why I wanted to touch on the art if anyone had any strong opinions on that. But yeah, changing it is on the table. I don't know how much is on the table versus we're definitely doing this and I can hint at it versus, oh yeah, it's on the table and we're thinking about it. But yeah, it is definitely, at least all of it is on the table, and yeah, like the map, we're definitely open to having the map be changeable. And like I said, also we're one of the monoliths, in theory right now, what we discussed publicly is having like an island monolith and some way to get to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's about all I can say on that, I think.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to drop off and run here.
Yeah.
But the last thought that I will leave, the last plea that I will make is, uh, please don't make every patch blocked on new monolith content.
Sure.
I think that Steam activity will show smaller patches more favorably. I think potential purchasers will see that, oh, this game seems to be getting a new patch, even if it's a small tweak of something, it's getting a new patch every month. Clearly, this is still under development. Buy. So,
I
small patch is good.
you're preaching to the choir on that one. If I will say this to everyone, if any of you have any data on that, by the way, please send it to me because the more data I can throw at people, the better. But yeah, no, I agree with you. That's all
Yeah.
I can say.
I thought the
All right.
game died.
Yeah.
I finished it and we were just left hanging.
Hmm.
All right. Thanks everybody for your time.
Yeah,
Bye.
All right,
no
nice
problem.
meeting
Thanks,
you.
Yeah.
Chris.
But
Um,
I thought the game was over, that it just stopped.
mhm.
It was abandoned. I really like this game.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll be here for a little bit. We can have some open discussion, and if you want me to answer any questions, I'll be here, I guess, for another 20 minutes, unless everyone wants to dip. And in that case, I guess I'll eat or something. I don't know.
I do need to dip myself. I have a few bits and pieces to do at the house. So with that,
Okay, no problem.
I will say goodbye as well. But look, guys, it's been a good conversation, and I look forward to another.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
Umbrella. Also, either next Monday or Tuesday, do you want to do our first actual recorded call?
Yeah,
The thing we were talking. All right, cool. I'll message you more on that.
yeah, perfect. Yeah.
All right, cool, man. See ya.
Cheers. Bye bye.